fantastic. So right now, go get your partner Drew, and you two can wear your kilts together to the ring so that Big Show can choke slam you. And you might want to run off and tell your partner Drew what you've gotten him into, lad, because it's pretty shady. And you might want to run off now before I straighten one of those crooked eyebrows permanently.
Hibiki Highspots yet again back, brand new guest, brand new topic, brand new episode right here on the channel. This time, a little bit different. Someone I've never been joined by, a first time ever guest here on the channel, on any show. My friend Mads at Claymore Chick on Twitter. What's going on? Thank you for agreeing to come on and do this. How are you and where can everyone catch you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. You can get me on Twitter at ClaymoreChick95. That's all I really do for wrestling. Thanks for having me.
No problem. You've made quite the little name for yourself in social media lately, which is weird because I literally just met you around this time, this whirlwind period on Twitter with you and a certain podcast host who's pretty well known.
Oh yeah, it's been a little crazy and it still hasn't stopped a whole week later, but you know, I'm just riding with it because I know I have a lot of people who will back me up, so it doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. And the whole original thing kind of made me laugh, like the whole get back to the kitchen thing, and that wasn't the whole point of my tweets at all. It was just to point out that anybody like a normal person would be like crucified for the shit he said, but because he thinks he's like God on Twitter, nobody cares and defends his comments. It's kind of crazy, but
yeah. We were talking a little off air about it, and you seem very refreshed. That I even fully admitted to you, and everyone that's listened to this show or channel for the past however many years knows that I'm a big Jim Cornette fan. But I feel like the problem here in cases like this is sometimes we lose sight of what's real and what line not to cross. Especially, yes, I get it. You could get away with that in the NWA in '86, but it's 2019. People are a hell of a lot more butthurt and sensitive nowadays. You can't do that shit and expect no repercussions to come from it. Just got to be smarter than that, I feel like, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, I was very refreshed to hear you have and be able to have a conversation with somebody who has the guy and no, it's not going to be just like a one-sided conversation. It was very exciting to hear because for the last 7 days, all I've been getting their tweets that I suck, shut your mouth, you're stupid, nobody cares about your opinion. So it's very refreshing.
Well, don't feel bad because I've been getting tweets for 5 fucking years saying I suck. So there you go. Well, we're not gonna dwell on this any longer. We're gonna get positive. We're gonna talk about your favorite thing in all the entire world. I'm pretty sure today. The topic of this show. Oh, yeah. If you can't tell by the thumbnail, guys, today's topic on Hibiki Highspots is Drew McIntyre. My God, you are obsessed with this man. It's crazy. For anyone that follows your Twitter, you live, you eat, sleep, breathe, all that shit. Drew McIntyre. What is it about Drew, besides the obvious about how you think he's gorgeous and all that stuff? What is it about him as just a wrestler? Is it because what I get from Drew is he's just, you could book him as a babyface or a heel. You could go either way. He's kind of a total package guy.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like a rough period when I started first watching wrestling. I met my boyfriend and my husband and all that stuff. And then we got together, and he loved wrestling. I didn't. I was going through some stuff, and I found him, and I was like, oh, this guy not only is attractive, but he's a good wrestler, so that's great. And then I followed him after he left WWE through ICW. He was in Evolve. He actually had 3 titles at one time on the Indies, but WWE won't give him anything. Oh, boy. So yeah, I just fell in love with him, and like him and Roman were my favorite two wrestlers when I first started watching wrestling. So they both helped me through a lot of personal problems and stuff like that. So
I think it's also crazy, and it goes to show too, like you started watching, you said in 2013, so you're not exactly a casual viewer, you're just getting called up, but you still went out of your way to catch the indies because a specific talent made you have that curiosity enough to watch another promotion you never heard of. And for anyone that ever says indie wrestling is dead, or it's just a dead end because it's only about WWE, here's a prime example right there. Here we have someone who's literally only been educated in pro wrestling for what? Jesus Christ, 5 to 4 years, something like that, right?
yeah. So Drew's call up to Raw is on my anniversary.
There you go.
It's a crazy thing to think of, but like April 16th, well, 2014 is my anniversary when I met my boyfriend, and then his in 2017, I think it was 2017, his call up to Raw was on that same day, which I only found out like a year ago. But it's like kind of crazy that my worlds connect like that. So
yeah, that is crazy. I think we're going to agree on this a lot, and I'm going to go ahead and get it out of our little systems now because this is going to come up a lot during this episode. Is it pretty much we're in agreement right now? His career, it's a case of squander potential with Drew. Like, what the fuck are they doing? What? Like, yeah, what's the deal?
It's rough. It's like, especially last week or this past Monday. Like, he looked pissed. Like, you could tell, I don't know if it was, like, a shoot or work, whatever, but he looked pissed. Like, I'm so upset. Like, I'd rather see him in New Japan, which is where he was going before he signed to NXT. I'd rather see him in New Japan at this point, because it's just making me mad.
And I always wonder, and I wonder if Drew is one of those guys where, like, yeah, he's not being booked right, but at the end of the day, those kind of wrestlers are cashing those sweet checks, so they kind of just suck it up and don't really give a shit because they got family. Do you think Drew is a case though where he would rather suffer for his art more than to just cash that check for mediocrity?
I don't know what it is, because he did the indie thing, and like he could be back in ICW and be home, like in his home country with his family and like his dad and his stepmom and his family. So I don't really know, like.
It's very common when a WWE guy gets released, he'll go around to some indies, right? Some weekend warrior bullshit, and he'll ask for a lot of money, and he'll get that money. But it's another thing when a guy like McIntyre, yes, he did the indies thing because he knew he'd be a big name for the first year or so. He was a fresh off the WWE, right? But he not only did the weekend warrior shit, he tried to better himself and traveled the literal world to all these promotions, and I think that's the difference with a guy like Drew McIntyre. And I think Drew McIntyre would probably take a pay cut if he's having just his craft be, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't want his art to suffer. I feel like he strikes me as that kind of guy, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm so confused right now. Like, I don't know. But genuinely on Monday night with that whole Bobby Lashley, like, Rusev, you could tell he looked upset. And from what I can see, he looked like he was supposed to stay out because they had that, like, whole Team Flair Hogan angle after his match. Like, people and I have been talking about how it looked like he was probably supposed to stay out there as part of Team Flair. And he just walked away. You could tell in his face. I don't know.
Well, let's be honest. Let's say what it is. Let's say what it really probably is, especially this time of year now with the Saudi shows. Unless your name's Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens or Daniel Bryan, everyone looks pissed off because they got to go over to fucking Saudi Arabia. So it's probably a case of that, too. He probably wasn't happy he was heading over there.
Yeah, it was the Monday after that whole fiasco thing.
Oh, too. Yeah.
It's like, I love him, but, like, he's the worst, like, wrestler when it comes to, like, social media who doesn't say anything unless it's something WWE tells him to tweet.
Right.
And sometimes I think, like, somebody, like, I don't know, who has a bigger, like, interacts with fans squashes that whole, like, dirt sheet. That whole thing, you know what I mean? If you're open with your fans.
Yeah.
You squash that whole dirt sheet crap, like, right off the bat, then there's nobody. And he's, like, the worst at that. And he admits that he won't do that in social media.
Yeah.
It just causes more problems than it's worth, and I respect that, because if you look at somebody like Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin, all the shit they get from people.
Well, that's a little guy named Seth Rollins comes to mind lately with Twitter, maybe.
Yeah, he's good at it.
Jesus. But let's just say it. I'll say it right here, flat out. Twitter ruined his babyface run. That's what it was. Yes, the booking fucking sucked dick, and his promos were awful, and the man's man, I'm a cuck shit with Becky was atrocious. But he did himself no fucking favors every time he tweets out anything. He's such a douchebag in real life. And did you see that interview with Corey Graves he did the other day?
I heard snippets and stuff like that, but
I know it's the Drew Show. Welcome to Hibiki TMD. We go off the fucking rails all the time.
well, that's me. My mind never stays in one spot.
But yeah, where it's just the typical Seth Rollins shit, and I hate when guys, maybe the fans should think before they tweet. It's the product's good. What are you guys watching? You just want to complain. No, the product, honestly, it's not. For the most part, it hasn't been fucking good for years. Stop giving us corporate fucking answers because you're afraid to get demoted in your job.
Yeah, so in that respect, Drew is perfectly, he stays the fuck out of it.
He's a good yes man.
That's probably how it should be. But on the other hand, I was so worried about all of them the whole entire time, and I'm just like, dude. And people come to me, and they're like, what is he doing? I know him, I'm best friends with him. In my alternate world, that would be fantastic. But just because I met him once, and, we have he's interacted with me on Twitter by liking my tweets one time over my tattoo. But other than that, it's I don't know the guy. And it's so funny to see people oh, what is he doing? When he was out with his injury, which we still don't know what that was. But people are oh, what's going on? I'm I don't know. I'm just a fan like everybody else. I don't have insider information on the guy.
Everyone acts like you guys went to grade school together or something.
Yeah, I wish. That would be cool. And some wrestling people I am closer with than others, but it's he doesn't put his life out there like that, and that's cool, and I respect that. But some people are ridiculous. From what we heard and what the rumors were, because it was a surgery without a broken bone or muscle, I heard appendix. That's what the rumor was. And that he had his appendix removed.
Right.
That was the big, and I hate to even put that rumor out there because now I'm doing what dirt sheets I hate to. But that was
speculations. It's not like you're saying he had AIDS cured or something. No, it's just an appendix removal. It wasn't anything that would destroy his character,
No, but yeah, that's what I heard. I have no more information on that than anybody else.
Well, Matt,
I'm just a fan.
Mads, let's do this. Let's each hop in our own respective DeLorean, go back in time. The first time I ever saw Drew was probably his debut in WWE. I never watched, it was FCW back then, not NXT. He was that was their developmental back then for everyone not in the know. He was the FCW champion, I think, before he came. But the first time I saw him, it's crazy to think all these years later. You remember when he was booked as the chosen one by Vince McMahon? Literally, Vince would cut promos saying how he's handpicked Drew McIntyre as his chosen one. And it seemed like the kid was off. He had a rocket strapped to his back. The sky was the limit. But then he had that real life domestic disturbance thing with his wife, who was a diva at the time. I forget her name. I think Taryn Terrell. Yes. And that kind of much fucked him over. And it was just.
Yeah.
What did you think of initially young babyface Drew?
I remember that promo where it wasn't the first time where Vince was he came out in the ring and called him out. Was that the first time?
Yeah, I think it was Vince introducing him, right?
Yeah, I have the yeah.
I think so.
I learned so much about wrestling. Just literally, thank God there's DVDs and thank God there's the internet.
And the network.
Because I have millions of years of wrestling to catch up on, being that I only started watching in 2013. So I learned a lot secondhand.
Right.
So that's the part I remember. And then I remember seeing him in 2013 as 3MB. That was kind of my favorite Drew.
Really?
That guy.
Really?
But he hated it, so I can't be a proponent for that.
Well, let's get past the chosen one. We had an IC title reign and then, the domestic thing. And then he comes back. Or no, he never left. He was just demoted and he wasn't on TV for a year, and all of a sudden Heath Slater, former WWE champ Jinder Mahal, and Drew McIntyre are 3MB. And you know what? I wasn't really a fan per se because they were flat out booked as jobbers, but I will say I was a fan every time they did those VH1 behind the music things, those vignettes. Those are tremendous.
Yeah. Do you remember the three, what was it called? The weird match they did with Hornswoggle and the Little People?
It was a WLC match.
Yeah, that one was great. I loved that one. That one was pretty funny.
I think
And
WWE was so bad in that time period. Like, I think for that pay-per-view, that was one of the best matches, honestly.
like, there's you know how WWE on YouTube does those behind the, like, match things, and, like, so it was Jinder, Heath, and Drew, like, now.
Yeah.
And, like, you could just tell in Drew's face, he looked like, why would I ever agree to this shit?
It was just 100% cringe, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he thinks the whole thing was cringe. Again, this is speculation, because, like, I don't know the guy, but...
I mean, that's okay, because I think the whole thing was fucking cringe. That's all you had for Drew McIntyre at the time was a total slap in the face, let's be honest. Even though you enjoyed it, you gotta admit, come on, my God, look at the guy, and they're giving him that. And they never, and it didn't help, they never fucking won a match, I don't think, either. They were just total cannon fodder, jobbers, just fed to get other guys over, and that sucks. But you know what, I think when he re-signed and he came back in NXT years later, I think they remembered him taking all that and, you know, just taking it like a man. That's his job.
Dude, when he came back and they, like, panned into the audience that day, like, people are like, what's your favorite memory of NXT? And I'm like, that. And people are like, did you even watch NXT? Because if that's your favorite moment, obviously you've never watched NXT.
Right.
But, like, and the dudes in the background, I share that gif all the time. You see him in the crowd and there's two dudes and you can tell that they recognize who he is, and their reaction is one of the best things on the face of the planet, because you can literally see one guy lean over to the other guy and it's like, oh, is that Drew McIntyre? And their faces. I'll share it when this is done, because I save it on my phone. It's one of my favorite reaction gif videos things ever.
I remember watching that live when it happened, and that was like, I think, because then after that, like at takeovers, they started showing every new signee in the crowd, but I think Drew was the first guy they did that with, and there was a little bit of buzz that he was coming, but no one had any clue he was going to be there, and I remember being shocked, but I remember him coming off, because he was in like that suit, but he did that smirk, and he just came off so cool and badass.
Those dimples.
Dem dimples. Hashtag dem dimples.
Are thing of beauty.
Hashtag triple D, Dem Drew Dimples. There you go.
I'm going to use that from now.
Dem Drew Dimples. Have fun with that Photoshop, Matt. Anyway, yeah, I remember seeing, I know we're jumping ahead from 3MB, but let's be honest, besides the VH1 vignettes, what the fuck did 3MB really do? Nothing. So we could probably gloss over that, right?
Yeah, and then you don't know much about, you were saying ICW, but yes. I love ICW.
And I'm sure all the Union Smack listeners will appreciate when we get into that in a little bit. But yeah, after 3MB, what was the actual, because I'm sure you know, because I have no clue. What was the actual, did his contract just run out? Did he ask for his release? I don't remember what it was, why he left.
I think they endeavored him from WWE the
Shit
first time. Yeah. He got fired, I'm pretty sure. They endeavored him to, yeah.
Because I never remember hearing it was a case of like he failed a drug test or anything. I just think it was a case of they didn't know what the hell to do with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he left, and I think looking back, it's hard to argue that's the best thing that ever happened to him. He went away, he got to totally reinvent himself and get tons of experience.
Yeah, and the best blow up in WWE.
Because even though I don't know a lot about ICW, I know when he traveled around to all these indies, they booked him as the top fucking guy, and he was never used to being booked as a top guy, so he got experience in that role too, you know.
Yeah, he was a two-time ICW World Heavyweight Champion.
For sure. Well, take us down ICW road. Since I know pretty much fuck all about it, how did Drew enter ICW, and how'd that whole deal go down, pretty much?
Oh my gosh. That's like a lot of knowledge.
Well, not all of it, but pretty much his debut in ICW. Because call me crazy, I have no clue. So how did that go down? It was like a surprise, like the lights went out, or they announced him prior, like he was going to have a match as his debut?
After WWE, he came back and attacked Jack Chester, who's one of his best friends in real life, because Jack was the ICW World Heavyweight Champion. So they pretty much set it up that at Fear and Loathing, which is one of their biggest pay-per-view of the year, this was 2017, maybe 2016, I forget. But so they set it up like that, and then he had a match for a number one contender match against some guy that I forget, and then that's how they set it up. So he came back and had like and they're hardcore matches. Like, if you don't like blood and you don't like barbed wire and hardcore, you will not like ICW.
Kaylee Ray, all that shit too over there was nuts.
Yeah, like when Drew first came back to WWE, him and Jack Jester had a barbed wire match in which Drew was not allowed to take any hits from Jack on the barbed wire, so it was pretty much a one-sided match. It's one of my favorite matches, but it's hard to watch because he gets annihilated and Drew is not allowed to take, because I don't know, he was going back to WWE, so he couldn't have like scratches and he couldn't have like visible marks all over him.
Then why did they even book the match?
Because I have a feeling he was probably booked to do it before he was rehired to WWE.
They couldn't have changed the storyline?
I don't know. I can't complain because it's one of my favorite matches ever, so I'm not going to complain about that. It was just very one-sided.
I have to check it out because, if you say it turned out good, hell.
I mean, it was good for Drew. He didn't get any... He got to beat up his best friend and not take a bump, pretty much, the whole entire match. The whole entire, 25, 30-minute match. But it's one of my favorite matches. But people are like, oh, the only reason you like ICW is because he was there. Yeah, all my favorite matches. Well, Joe Coffey just had a match this last weekend with Stevie Boy Xavier, which was fantastic. I got to catch up. I haven't watched the pay-per-views. There was 2 in a row this weekend, and that's 6 hours of wrestling, so I got to have ample time to sit down and watch.
That's one of the biggest problems in pro wrestling. Yes, it's great there's so many options, but it's too much fucking wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, I say I watch 5 days worth of wrestling and then not. And then I usually watch it 7 days a week because I catch up.
I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm going to say it. I feel like the must-watch show right now is NWA Power. I'm sorry, Mads. I love NWA. Please forgive me. I'm not promoting that guy. I'm just saying,
Oh, I love, Nick Aldis and, Eli Drake. I love them. I wish they were on better show. Just gonna throw that out
I feel like flat out within 2 years you could very well see Nick Aldis in AEW for sure because he was an All In anyway initially. So
yeah, he's married to Mickey James.
That he is. That is a whole other rabbit hole. Is that my Drew McIntyre? I can talk about Mickey James if you get to talk about Drew.
Sure.
Is that how we're gonna do it?
I'm not gonna tell you what you talk about on your.
He didn't he go to, it was Defiant or What Culture Pro Wrestling also for a little bit?
Yeah, he had all 3 of those. I thank you for reminding me because I couldn't remember what the 3rd one was.
Did he do Progress? I don't remember.
He had the Evolve World Heavyweight title. At the same time, he had the Defiant World Heavyweight title and the ICW World Heavyweight title all at one time.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever wrestled for Progress. Maybe somebody can fact check that in the comments. Let us know.
That one doesn't ring a bell, but I couldn't remember Defiant. I knew it was Evolve and ICW, and yet WWE won't give him a title. Not even, I lied. People are going to be like, well, yeah, the tag team titles at Dolph. Yeah, but I'm talking about a legit heavyweight title.
And out of all these promotions that he worked for at this time when he was the champ of all 3, pulling a big Van Vader in Japan in the 80s, what do you think was your favorite run? Out of all these promotions, what do you prefer Drew in this time? What was your favorite promotion to watch him? ICW, you would say?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, I have had, you see me tweet all the time. I'm always tweeting about ICW, and, I feel like I'm the only person in America who likes that show to the point where people just automatically assume I'm from overseas because of my love of that promotion.
You know what?
So that's fun.
Maybe I should turn into a fucking Rain Man human encyclopedia and catch up on 30 years worth of knowledge or however long. And maybe, this is just your little debut, but we start an ICW show and that's what we end up doing because nobody else covers that shit. There you go.
Oh, that would be great. I could talk about ICW I mean, a lot of it goes back to my love of Drew. Like, my favorite matches mostly involve him. But I can admit it. I can admit my bias when it comes to that guy. I'm not going to lie. The whole reason I started watching. But now, he's not there anymore. And guess what? I still watch. Because two of my favorite UK wrestlers are a tag team in ICW. And so, it is what it is. But that would be really cool. Like I said, I got to catch up on their latest pay-per-views.
I got to catch up on one fucking match in general. Because, like I said, I need to study hard and fast at them. No promises, guys. Just throwing a little brainstorming session on air. Why the fuck not? It's Hibiki Highspots. It's anything goes. It's gloves off. And finally, Mads, I can tag back in and talk about some shit that I know what I'm talking about again. Like we said, he makes the big old return, comes back home, pal. Come on home. Sitting in the crowd of the NXT TakeOver. They bring him in and they push him hard. They push him as a killer and they push him exactly how I would have. But my biggest problem is I don't think he got over like a babyface as much as they would have liked him to.
No, and then he tore his bicep and then had to forfeit, or not forfeit, but give up the NXT title.
Yeah.
That was always sucks. To the point where anytime he grabs his forearm and I shoot like as a work, I'm like, oh God, don't do that to me. I like freak out. They work me so good that I like, don't do that. Don't freak me out like that, please.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't make me go through that again.
Like every time I see fucking Sasha Banks dive, I think she's gonna land on her fucking head. Actually, I don't care because I don't like Sasha Banks, so I hope she does. No, I don't hope she does. I take that back. That's bad karma. At least he got the NXT title at this time. He got one run in. He defeated Bobby Roode, if memory serves correct.
Yes, that is one of my favorite matches ever.
I remember loving and hating his entrance for that with the bagpipes. I loved it because, yeah, it was bagpipes, but I hated it because it felt uninspired and kind of just lazy because you already seen that with kind of Roddy Piper. You felt like they would have done, like, I expected more like a fucking Game of Thrones medieval type thing with Drew. That's what I would have done with bagpipes, but just with a medieval. I don't know. It was just like, oh, here's some bagpipe players. Drew McIntyre, because he's Scottish. Does that mean that Garth Brooks is going to accompany me out to the ring if I'm a wrestler because I'm American? I hate fucking country music. Come on.
Yeah. That before he had like the pumped up like the remix version of Gallantry?
This was his first version of that, which is still my favorite one. I think we've talked about that on Twitter before, where it was just so heavy and badass, and then they changed it to it sounds like Sheamus's music on Adderall. I don't like it.
See, people keep saying that. I don't. I like that analogy though. That was funny, but I don't see I guess I don't know. Sheamus's music had words though, didn't it?
It's a shameful thing, Lobster Man. Something like that.
Yeah, that.
But I'm talking about the music Sheamus has now, where it's just like angry Irish drums and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss him. Oh, Sheamus and Drew are best friends.
I think Sheamus is done. Sadly, I think he's packing it up soon because of it. He has like spinal issues.
Neck, yeah.
Yeah. He was a different era, and I know we're going off the rails again. A different era, like say Sheamus was around in the '80s, he would have feuded with Hogan as a heel, I guarantee it. But he just came in that era where it was just kind of fucking meh, you know.
I like the bar, and everybody shits on me for that. But I loved Sheamus and Cesaro together.
I think they did great as a team. I don't like the bar out of principle because I thought Cesaro deserved better, and probably Sheamus deserved better too than just to be thrown in the tag team. But they made the best out of it. I got to give it to them, you know.
Yeah. There was like a slight chance before Sheamus got hurt this last time that we were going to see him and Drew together, which really, as knowing their history together, made me really excited.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt. There was that one episode of Raw where him, Sheamus, and Drew came out together for a tag team match. And I was like, oh, God, yay! And then we didn't see Sheamus, and we haven't seen Sheamus since that time. I was like, shattered dreams. Right there.
I remember back in the day too, like in 2009, they would start kind of tease tagging him and Sheamus too, even back then. By the way, we're about almost 40 minutes in this episode. How have we yet to bring up the elephant in the room that everyone's been waiting us to bring up, especially talking about theme music? The very first entrance music of Drew McIntyre should have never went away in the first place.
Broken Dreams. I love that song so much.
It was good. I remember when it came out back in the day, it's just one of my favorite wrestling themes. And it was just, I don't know, it was suited for like a top heel champion, and it just never happened.
Yeah, that whole thing fucked that whole domestic dispute bullshit. Fucked that up hard, and it sucks.
I'm pretty sure with the copyright issues, by the way, I can get away with using Broken Dreams as the intro music for this without getting my video taken down and flagged. So there you go, because he doesn't use it anymore. So what the fuck do you need it for, WWE? Kiss my ass. Anyway. Then Drew, like, he got hurt in NXT, and then he comes back, finally, from the injury. He comes back to Raw, right? He doesn't go back to NXT.
Yeah, right away. I never understood that. I mean, it's like he could have come back and I always forget, who had the title after him, after he had to give it up?
I want to say he lost it. Like, he ended up having a match. He worked hurt against Almas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it would have been a redemption story for him to come back.
Props to Drew, too, for working hurt through that shit. Because I remember that being an all right match, too, for being hurt.
Yeah, I like Andrade.
Yeah, I love Andrade, man. He's one of the most underutilized. Dude, there's another guy. You know, squander potential. I'm having my midlife crisis right now, and a lot of people know I'm growing my hair like Andrade, just to spite everyone. So there you go.
Put it in a man bun?
We'll see. Only the time will tell. He's a trendsetter. Hey, if Selena Vega likes it, fuck, that's good enough for me. I'll put my hair any way you want, you know. No, but Drew, he got the call to Raw, and at first he was like, you're gonna love this. This is your favorite part of the show, my God. They put him with Dolph Ziggler as kind of like his Diesel to Shawn Michaels.
Oh, that was my favorite thing ever.
I'm sure it was. So Go ahead. Go ahead.
I love them.
What I feel like at the first couple weeks it was aight because they were it felt like shoot promos in a way, work shoot promos. But then
Their
they just
backstage stuff was great, where like you could like see like somebody was holding a camera, like. I'm sure it was faked, but like a selfie video thing, like their backstage stuff was great. And then Drew had to turn on him.
Well,
which was dumb.
Did he turn on him first, or did they form that dumbass stable with Braun Strowman first, and then they broke up?
I don't remember. There was a Hell in a Cell match, which I can't find on the network, which sucks, because, see, everybody's like, I have a thing, like, where WWE chooses to pair my two favorite people together. Like, okay, this is off topic and people are going to hate me for this, but Roman versus Baron this Friday. I'm excited for it. They're two of my favorites. So I don't mind. Whoever wins, wins. It's an equal, it's a happy thing for me. I don't care. I like that. So Roman versus Drew. Didn't care. Like them both. But people get so, like, caught up in the, your favorite's fighting my favorite thing. And I'm like, no, I like them both. It doesn't matter to me. It's all kinds of hot for me. I'm not gonna lie.
What was the name of that stable they had? Because they were feuding with the Shield, right? And the Shield were like the Hounds of Justice. They call themselves like the Dogs of War, the Puppies of Power, or something.
I don't remember, but puppy, that would have been great. Can you imagine?
I remember that. I remember that, like they did that turn with Braun, and they turned him for no reason. I remember shitting on it and everybody hating it because it made no sense. Because that was when Braun, I feel like, was red hot. Like he was on Steve Austin types of levels with popularity.
I like Braun a lot.
What is it about Braun?
They're wasting him. He could be like something, and they're just like not doing anything with him, which sucks. Yeah. And that whole thing was it WrestleMania that time with that kid? It was like, what?
Nicholas. That's so funny. When I went to WrestleMania this year, like waiting to get to our seats, like down at ground level, you could see it in this fenced area. Like all these, like we saw EC3 and all these guys walking back, and like the whole crowd was there with their phones, like yelling at. And all of a sudden, you saw Nicholas, that same kid, a year later at the Mania I went to, just like with his dad. And this one guy, I got it on tape. It's on the channel, cheap plug. This one guy in front of me goes, "Nicholas, I love you," and his dad gave him like a death look, like, "Stop talking to my kid, you fucking freak."
Dad is that John Cone. The main...
Yeah, the ref.
Yeah.
He also has like his own donut fucking chain restaurant or something. I know way too much about John Cone apparently. No, yeah, I blew your mind and everybody's mind. I hated the stable with Braun Strowman, and after that, you kind of. I'm getting fuzzy on the Drew stuff, but my memory serves me. We'll talk about it again. This year, WrestleMania, they build up that feud with Roman, and let me say this, and this might piss some people off. I don't give a shit. There's no reason Drew McIntyre should have lost that match at WrestleMania. The only reason he lost that match, let's say it, boys and girls, all together, is because Roman had just come back from remission from cancer, and they couldn't make Roman lose. That was just, and I get it, why they didn't. You can't do that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, even I can admit that, and I love Drew, and it's like, okay, friend, like, but people are like, do you know him? It's like, what is he thinking? It's like, I wish I knew what that guy was thinking. I love him to death, and I'm going to plug for anybody who wants to meet an amazing person who also is a wrestler, go meet him, Drew, because he's the best person, funny, handsome, kind. He treats you like you've known him your whole entire life. I'm just going to plug that out there. Anybody that can go meet him because he's the best. And so I'm very, very, very biased, and I will admit that fully. And especially after meeting him, knowing the real person he is, that behind the character, like, you will never see a better wrestler with children. He gets down and he gets on their level because he will tell you that he knows he's big and scary, and that he will get down and talk to children on a level. And I've never seen that. Well, he was my first wrestler, so he, like, raised the bar really high for me. But, like, you'll never see a person more caring and kind and patient, and who talks to children, gets down on their level, because he knows he's a big dude. And, like, so I will never not be a fan, especially after meeting him. So people will crucify me for the fact that I can't be biased, but I'll admit that to the day I die, because, yeah. You hear stories all the time about people meeting their favorite wrestlers, and they're below expectation. They're terrible. They're not very nice. And so to have my first meeting, the guy I love,
Sasha Banks. Excuse me.
So he set the bar high for me when it comes to people meeting wrestlers that I love. Baron Corbin was cool too, though. We had a really, what? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, Corbin and I had a weird, like, we didn't meet, but he, like, I was at a house show in July, and he knew, like, I counted down about weeks, like, literally for a whole month, and annoyed the crap out of him, I'm sure. But, like, he was really nice, and he made it a point of pointing to me and being like, hey, I know you. I was sitting third row. It was the first house show I've sat on the floor, and he pointed to me. He was like, hey, I know you. He, like, made it a point of acknowledging me. So I've had some really good interactions. So when I hear people say that their favorite wrestlers are not very nice, it disappoints me. You know?
Very nice. That's awesome. And I was going to say, I mean, you just did a better job in the last 2 minutes of building up a hype package for Drew McIntyre than WWE's ever done. And I can't think of a better way to close this out, Mads. I want to thank you so much once again for joining me right here talking some Drew. One more time, where can everyone catch you on Twitter?
Claymore Chick 95. And you can follow me at my Facebook, but I don't talk about wrestling very much. So, yeah, this was really fun. I'm so glad we did this. Can't wait to do it again.
Damn right. Can't wait to have you back. Thank you again. Guys, as always on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD, get your official Hibiki TMD merch, unionsmack.bigcartel.com. As always, hit that little red goddamn button right down below for all the best retro gaming and pro wrestling goodness. This is Hibiki Highspots talking Drew. Until then,